You may remember in 2014 when the nationwide event known as ALS Ice Bucket Challenge went viral. We even had some local ones happen here in northeastern Pennsylvania. It raised millions of dollars for the disease. And today we're going to discuss that on The Girls.
It not only raised a lot of money, but it also increased awareness for ALS, also Lou Gehrig's disease, which it is called. And on today's show, we're going to get to meet a person who has ALS and their wife and the whole team that it takes to help this person stay alive.
Yes, that is coming up on The Girls. But first, it is fall, changing of the seasons. We have to mention that and talk about that for a little bit because, you know, change of season, change of schedules for some mommies and daddies out there. So it's a time of transition.
It is a transition time. I know I couldn't believe when I was on the deck and I had to start cleaning the leaves off of my patio furniture. It's 85 degrees out and the leaves are starting to fall. But that always happens in September. The kids go back to school and then we get what we used to call as Indian summer.
And we'll get nice weather. So I couldn't motivate myself to put out my pumpkins while my summer flowers, I didn't want to dig them out because they still look nice. So I'm going to hold off as long as I can until it's cold out to put my pumpkins
Yeah, well,
out.
You're not a great big decorator, right,
Hey,
Ginny?
watch it. Well, you know, that Pinterest, you know, it makes you feel sometimes this big if you're not the real creative one outdoors or even with activities. I was scrolling through pictures and one that I saw that really made me laugh is I get these big ideas of grandeur and I see these pumpkins decorated and I'm thinking, all right, come on kids, we're gonna go to a craft store, we're gonna get this, we're gonna get that, we're gonna do this, we're gonna make our pumpkin special. And this picture pretty much sums up my life with decorating. I had this, you know, theory of grandeur and thought of grandeur, and then I just throw one pumpkin out on the porch because my project comes like mushed pumpkin.
One pumpkin,
instead.
but there are a lot of great ideas out there for your do-it-yourselfers. I think I posted something on my Facebook page and on The Girls as well. And there are some great, inexpensive ways that you can make some of these decorations that are out there.
Cut it out of construction paper. It's called orange construction paper.
Oh, God.
Stick 2 eyes on it, little googly eyes and a mouth, and there's your pumpkin.
Well, I love Halloween, and when the kids ring the doorbell, I have a special surprise for them this year, so make sure you stop by the Lasant residence because I always have a surprise.
From all over the world, just stop by northeastern Pennsylvania and, you know, you'll get a special surprise. But it is nice to see the kids, you know, they go all out in their costumes and stuff like that.
Yeah, we do.
So I hope you are enjoying the change of the season, especially if you live in Pennsylvania, because
Gorgeous.
Peak Week is upon us in October, and it's going to be a great time. A lot of nice festivals to go to, hot air balloon rides. We get to go to the orchards to see the, you know, the pumpkins. You get to see all the spices and the apples and all the fun stuff that comes
Taste
along.
all the good stuff, yeah, and enjoy the great outdoors of PA. We also have the Renaissance Fair to look forward to.
I forgot about that.
And the Bloomsburg Fair.
A lot of good things.
Ooh, let's hurry up and do the show so we can go have some fun.
All right, so let's get back to a serious topic for today, and that is ALS. We want to educate you on what ALS is. As my mom said, we have guests on that are going to talk about ALS. We have someone with us who actually is going through ALS. He was recently diagnosed. And where does all this money go to? You're going to learn about it coming up right here on The Girls. And thanks for joining us here on The Girls. Today we are going to speak about ALS. If you've seen the videos, it went nationwide, the Ice Bucket Challenge, and we're going to talk about that today. We have some very special guests with us. We have Ginny and Tom Raimann, and we also have a part of their health team. She's a respiratory therapist, Danielle Johnson. So thank you all for joining us on The Girls today.
Well, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Well, Ginny, I'm going to direct my first question to you because it seems to me like you're probably orchestrating this entire team to help with your husband, Tom. And I guess we want to start with, first of all, having people know what ALS is and how it first began with Tom.
Well, how it first began with Tom, we were playing golf, and he was walking off one of the holes, and he said, "My foot's not working right." And then all of a sudden, it was like we would go for a walk, and he couldn't walk because he was afraid he wouldn't make it back. So we started going to a doctor, and of course we thought he had just drop foot. And from seeing, who was the first guy we saw? I forget what kind of doctor he was. But anyway, he said that he had pinched nerves and spinal stenosis. Well, everybody has spinal stenosis at our age. And he didn't have any pain, and I kept saying, you know, that just doesn't seem right. So he started physical therapy, and that wasn't helping. So I called a cardiologist down at Lehigh Valley in Allentown, and I said, what do we do? I think we need to see another doctor, but I don't know where to go. So they said, well, when was the last time you had a good physical? And I said, it was a while. So they sent us to an internist. The internist said, I think that you should do, he couldn't do an MRI because he has a pacemaker implant. But they did a CAT scan. And sure enough, that's what they saw too. But he said, I really want you to see a neurologist. So from the neurologist, it was, I gotta forget what kind of a neurologist we saw, and then she said, you really should be seeing a muscular neurologist. And that's when I knew that there was something really seriously wrong, because you just don't go to a muscular neurologist. And having been in the pharmaceutical area working, I knew like there's all kinds of problems. So from there we went to Macon down in Allentown, and he did another EMG, which is where they put the needles in to test your muscles and reflexes. And he diagnosed it. He was supposed to be on vacation, and fortunately he wasn't that week. And he diagnosed him that day. And
so
that was a year ago, May.
So from that day forward, your life has really changed.
Oh, it has.
And have more symptoms occurred? How have the symptoms progressed? Because the symptoms are pretty much the same for everyone with ALS, but the symptoms vary in when they occur and how severe they are and how rapidly they occur.
Right. Well, like I said, his started with the drop foot. Some people start, you know, in the diaphragm and in their speech. So we've been really lucky in that it started in the lower limbs, because now he's starting to have problems with his fingers and doing things.
I want to back up just a second, Ginny and Tom. When you were first diagnosed, for those people who might be experiencing this, what went through your mind?
First you cry, like everybody else, I guess. And then it was kind of like you have to take a step back and just enjoy every day. You know, and that's what we've been doing.
Speaking of enjoying every day, you're celebrating your 32nd?
Yes.
30. Okay.
Today.
32nd wedding anniversary. Well, happy anniversary to you both. So where do you go from being diagnosed to actually getting some treatment and living with the disease?
Well, we started with some physical therapy, and the doctors had said, you know, we really don't push that because they don't want to damage any more muscles than are already damaged. And the same with getting massages, because I talked about getting a massage, and they said, you know, it really wouldn't help because they don't want to break down the muscles. They wanted to keep them as healthy as possible. And they're really, I guess, and I'm sure they'll get into it later, there really isn't any treatment for it. There's only one drug approved by the FDA, and Tom is taking that.
And we'll talk about where this money is going and the big fundraiser that you actually had. They are going on across the nation, but locally you had one at Eagle Rock Resort, and it was a phenomenal amount of money that they raised in just 3 short weeks.
Yeah, it was. We sent out flyers, and we have a communications director, and she did e-blast to the resort every couple of days, reminding everybody about the challenge. And probably that day we had 75 people, if not more. And before that we had checks coming in like crazy from people who couldn't make the challenge. So, Eagle Rock has just been so supportive, as well as our families, obviously. But I don't think we could live anywhere else and get the support we get.
Yes, great community. We're at how much money? 9,000?
Just 9,000.
Okay.
We're hoping for a little more.
Yeah, we'll talk about fundraising a little bit more. And we have Danielle Johnson with us. Okay.
Danielle, your job in all of this as part of the team is to help Tom with his breathing.
Correct.
So again, and we want to let everyone be educated as to ALS. What is the problem with the breathing? What can you do for him?
Well, the problem with the breathing is the diaphragm. So there's certain muscle tests that they would do, and once the diaphragm gets to a certain level, then they require what's called a BiPAP machine to help relax the diaphragm while they sleep, while they're taking a nap. Actually, they even can be put on what's called a ventilator via a mask that helps them rest their diaphragm even more, just so they can enjoy their everyday living when they are awake and can enjoy life, can eat, enjoy their family.
Is there a medication that they breathe in with that as well? Or is
No,
it
there's
just
not.
the oxygen therapy? And so how often are you there? How many do you do these treatments?
Well, I'm there. I go there once a month to check on him, and actually I'm the eyes and the ears for the ALS team, just to make sure he's comfortable, feeling relaxed, if there's any other issues with him swallowing, talking.
And how has he responded to this treatment so
Great.
far?
I think he's
Great.
doing great. Great.
What did you say during the break? She's the best.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, she is.
She's the best. And working with ALS patients, it really is on a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely. Yes. Because some patients, like Ginny had talked about, it affects their speech and their swallowing quicker, where some people it affects their legs and their limbs quicker. So we have to assist in making sure they can remove their secretions. Jen will talk about devices to help them talk. But as a role as a respiratory therapist, it is to, rest the diaphragm, make them comfortable breathing.
And so Ginny's been trained also in an emergency
Yes.
what to do. So you've been inducted into the nursing field.
Yes, yes.
Full-time job.
And well, fortunately, again, we have somebody living down the street that's a nurse, and somebody across the street that's a dentist that's had a lot of training. So they're always there for us.
Everybody's willing to pitch in.
Yes.
So it takes the whole team here.
Well, thank you for joining us. As you said, we are going to meet with another member of the ALS team that are supporting Tom, who is diagnosed with ALS. We have Jen Raimann coming up. She is a nurse coordinator for the ALS Association.
The ALS Association has been very good to have a lot of people and to sort of guide you along the way, I guess, as well.
Yeah, well, every 3 months we go to a clinic. And at the clinic, you see all kinds of therapists, occupational, physical, a nutritionist. Who else do we see, Tom? All kinds of people. And obviously a nurse and doctor.
Like 3 hours.
And we're there for 3 hours.
For
if
3
not
hours.
more. Yeah, because they spent, oh, I'm sorry, there was the social worker, Wendy. And who else is there? I forget.
The doctor's nurse and the doctor.
Right, yeah, I said that.
There's a lot
speech
of support then
pathologist.
for
Yes.
for ALS
And they all
patients.
spend about 20 minutes to a half an hour with us.
Very good. All right.
All right, well, when we come back, we're going to learn more about how the family is coping with this. We're going to learn more about the therapy, and we'll continue on with ALS. Stay right here. You're watching The Girls. Welcome back to The Girls. If you just joined us, our guests today are Ginny and Tom Raimann. And Tom has ALS. We've been discussing ALS, and we've had one member of the team on with us already to discuss part of the health care. And now we have another member join us. This is Jen Raimann. She is a nurse coordinator for ALS team. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What is your role in all of this, Jen? What do you do?
So I am very lucky. In what I do as a nurse for the ALS Association, I get to work with awesome people like Ginny and Tom every day. They invite me into their homes with open arms and are so welcoming. And I work with families to help them stay in their home as long as possible in the most easy and comfortable way. And I do that by looking for resources that can help them out in the home, helping them learn about what's going on with the disease and what things we can offer them to make their days easier, how we can help them, who maybe they should be in contact with. Kind of looking at what the next step might be so they don't have to reinvent the wheel and can have easier days.
So are there adaptations also that are made to the home to help Tom, as you said, to stay home?
Absolutely. There's a lot of very simple things that can be done so that they can access everywhere they need to be in their home, from stair glides, which Ginny and Tom have already done, so they can access their upstairs or their downstairs. Items like these little scooters that help conserve their energy. So for going out for their anniversary tonight, Tom has more energy now because he can ride in this and not have to move himself around with his legs. You can widen doorways. You can get all kinds of, items for the bathrooms, grab bars and elevated toilet seats, shower chairs, everything to keep them safe and in their home as long as possible.
Now, Jen, we're hoping that this show is really showing our viewers the need for a team, because really, since there is no cure for ALS and there is no treatment, we want people to know what kind of people and personnel it takes to work with these patients.
Sure. Well, honestly, it takes a village. I mean, and they'll
It sounds
speak
like it does.
They'll speak to that also. We like to have on their team occupational therapists who help them identify gizmos and gadgets that will help them in their home. Physical therapists to recommend things like motorized transportation and bracing to keep them safe and decrease their falls. Respiratory therapists to deal with their breathing needs. We also need that neurologist on. You need that ALS specialist. Every doctor is trained and wonderful in what they do, but you wouldn't go to a foot doctor if you had a heart problem.
Correct.
So it's the same thing. You need to have that specialist on your team. We also need speech and dietary, because folks do need help maintaining their nutrition. We want to prevent them from losing weight and not feeling their ultimate while they're living their days as happily as they can. So as you can see, there's plenty of people. Social work, another big component, but plenty of people they need.
Well, with the insurances the way that they are now, I'm sure that this is very expensive. It's very costly for the family. So do you find resources for them as well?
Right, and insurances, unfortunately, are covering less and less. It's difficult. It's something that's happening to everybody in the nation, and they're going to have to find resources to meet their needs, because insurances aren't going to be able to meet all of their needs. So there are different programs out there that we can tap into to access loaner items. So if their insurance won't buy a power wheelchair or buy a communication device or a bathtub bench, we can help them do that. And the fundraising with the Ice Bucket Challenge has really made a big impact in what the association itself can buy for families.
And just to give the audience watching an idea how expensive it is, what's the cost of a scooter like that? Does anyone know how much that is?
Well, they purchased their own, so they can tell you how much this one costs.
The reason we purchased our own and didn't go through insurance, because when the time comes that he needs a wheelchair, they would not cover the wheelchair if we bought a scooter.
Through the insurance.
So we paid $1,600 for the scooter, and he has just been evaluated for a wheelchair so that it can go through insurance.
But the power wheelchair that he's been evaluated for can cost
Right.
$30,000.
It's very costly, and you mentioned fundraising, and you were actually there the day
Yep.
that we did the local one, that Eagle Rock did their local fundraising event. For people out there having my own, nonprofit and foundation, and very sensitive to where money goes that these people donate, explain to people actually where the funds will be going.
Sure. The funds that are raised from the Ice Bucket Challenge, and even any private fundraising that goes on that folks want to donate towards the association, helps buy things like seat lift recliners, which can be $800 to $2,000. Well, if you have something going on where you're sick, your money's getting pulled in all directions. So even though $800 doesn't seem like a huge savings, that's a big deal to be able to buy somebody a seat lift recliner that they're comfortable in, and they can push the button and get stood right up if they can't get themselves up in. We've also been able to pay for respite hours in the home. So perhaps if it's somebody that doesn't have family members that can come over and help out when the caregiver needs to go to the hairdresser or for groceries, we can pay somebody to come in that home and stay there so that loved one can get out and do what they need to do, and the person with ALS is safe and happy in their own home. And there's a variety of other programs that the funds are going to go towards to provide services every day.
Well, it sounds like you have a very strong team, Ginny.
Oh, we were very fortunate. We really are.
And I know Tom is chiming in over here telling us different things. He seems to be doing pretty well with everything. And do you have any children?
Tom does, I do not.
Okay, so you get to see the children often?
Yeah, they
Do
were
get
up for
to
the
come and
challenge.
visit?
Yeah, they had a
That's
great
neat.
time.
That's great. I didn't make the challenge, but I did get to see some of the pictures on Facebook and whatever. And do you have a Facebook page that people
I
could
do.
visit?
Yes.
They could check in with Tom's progress. If they'd like to donate money, that would be great. Anybody who would like to donate some money, they could donate. How, Ginny?
We the information will be up on your screen on how you could donate. All the money is going to the Philadelphia branch, which is our local ALS
Right.
association.
Right, they serve the Northeast Pennsylvania, South Jersey, and Delaware.
And Southern
Delaware.
Pennsylvania. Yep.
Okay,
Parts
so
of
we got the
Delaware.
East Coast.
East Coast.
Ginny, for anyone watching out there, maybe they have a loved one who has been diagnosed or has been diagnosed themselves. What is some advice that you can offer them?
I knew you were going to ask. Take a deep breath and just enjoy every day and take each day as it comes. There are days and moments when are better than others, and we've just learned to cope. You know, it's just difficult to explain. Prayer helps, and the local support that we're getting from family and friends has just been amazing, and I just keep telling you that.
How important is that to you? Because you
Oh.
do have a strong network, not only through the ALS Association and the team of health providers, but really your family, the Eagle Rock community. It really appears that Tom really has a lot of family and friends and extended family and friends now
Right.
through the health team
Well,
supporting him.
I've always said God put us at Eagle Rock for a reason, and this is the reason.
I totally believe in signs, and like you said, your neighbors being able to help you
Yes.
and knowing the knowledge of something that's so rare. ALS
It is.
is something that really needs to be looked into as far as even treatment, as you mentioned.
Well, this morning we had another person from the ALS Association at our house because we gave him all of the checks from the challenge. And he was telling us about some of the research that they're doing and how careful they are on where they're putting their money. They just are not randomly handing out millions of dollars because of last year's Ice Bucket Challenge. They've been able to really work with these research companies who didn't have money, and now they're seeing some progress.
So there is progress,
There
as you
is,
just mentioned.
yeah.
That's great.
Johns Hopkins has done a lot, and the lead researcher there has said if it wasn't for last year's challenge, they wouldn't have been able to go as far as they have.
Well, then maybe we need another ice bucket challenge.
Well, every August until a cure.
That's right. And quickly explain how that came about, because the story is really interesting.
Okay. Last year was the first year that they did the challenge, and I guess it was 3 people, Jen, who started it.
People living with ALS.
And their friends, well, let's just do this. They never, ever expected to raise the money that they did. They were doing it more for ALS awareness. And last year, from the Bucket Challenge, they $110 million.
Oh my Lord, that's
The
fabulous.
year before, in the same time period in August, they had $2,000 in donations.
Isn't that amazing?
$10 million.
And one of the gentlemen who came up with the idea actually won an award.
He did the Webby Award, I think they're called, because of it
Webby.
being on, it went viral. And when he accepted the award, he said, every August until a cure.
That was
and
his
that's their
speech.
new thing. That was it, the 5 words.
He's a genius.
Absolutely.
And thanks to that, we have this money coming in, and even though August is over, you can certainly still donate to the cause. And again, this is where your money is going towards all of these specialists helping the healthcare team, the providers that make ALS patients' lives more comfortable.
More comfortable. And we didn't ask one question, if I may ask, before we close the show. How old is your husband? How old is Tom?
Tom was diagnosed when he was 71, and he just turned 72 in March.
Well, God bless him. Well, here's hoping to the cure.
Yes.
Every August until the cure. So hopefully next August is going to be the year. And if you'll keep in touch with us, we'd
Sure.
like to know his condition, and we would have people donate money. That's what's the most important thing, is because the research has begun. So please donate money. We'll see you next time on The Girls.